Many years ago, in the small village of Inengwa, where traditions are deeply ingrained and the community thrives on its cultural roots, two young hearts met at Inengwa High School. Maduka, a charming and hardworking young man, met Uchenna, a beautiful and ambitious girl. Their love blossomed in the corridor of their school, where dreams were shared and futures were imagined. Maduka and Uchenna spent countless hours studying together, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Their laughter echoed through the school library, filled with cultural artifacts and the hopes of a young love. Their first date was at a local festival, a celebration of life and tradition. They danced traditional drums, enjoying the vibrant colors and joyous atmosphere that enveloped their village. At the school prom, Maduka and Uchenna were dressed in traditional Igbo attire, standing out like royalty amidst their peers. Their love seemed unbreakable, a promise of a beautiful future together. Years passed. Maduka proposed to Uchenna at a scenic spot in their village. She accepted with tears of joy, and their families celebrated the union with hope and happiness. Their wedding was a grand affair, rich in Igbo tradition. Family and friends gathered, dressed in vibrant clothing to witness their vows. It was a day of joy, music, and dance, a day they would remember forever. As newlyweds, Maduka and Uchenna moved into a modest home, decorated with cultural artifacts and filled with dreams of a happy life. Their love seemed strong and unyielding. But life has a way of testing love. Chijioke, Maduka's best friend from Inengwa High School, returned to the village. His presence rekindled old friendships, but also sowed the seeds of jealousy in Maduka's heart. Maduka began to suspect an affair between Uchenna and Chijioke, leading to their first major argument. Uchenna, bewildered and hurt by his accusations, tried to reassure him, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Maduka's jealousy grew, isolating Uchenna from friends and family. His love turned into control, and their home, once filled with joy, became a prison for Uchenna. Desperate to save their marriage, Uchenna tried to talk to Maduka about his behavior, but he dismissed her concerns, leaving her feeling helpless and trapped. The community whispered about the troubles in Maduka and Uchenna's marriage. But tradition and the fear of interference kept them silent. Even Maduka's mother, Mrs. Okafor, a wise and loving mother, felt powerless to stop the unfolding tragedy. Chijioke, noticing Uchenna's distress, tried to confront Maduka about his behavior, but this only fed Maduka's anger. Mrs. Okafor pleaded with her son to end the violence, but her words fell on deaf ears. Maduka's jealousy had clouded his judgment, and he was consumed by anger. One night, Uchenna decided to escape, packing a small bag with essentials. But Maduka caught her, and in a fit of anger, he violently prevented her from leaving. The love they once shared was now a distant memory. During a stormy night, Maduka's jealousy reached its peak. He confronted Uchenna with renewed accusations, and the argument escalated into a violent struggle. In the chaos, tragedy struck. Maduka's anger led to a fatal assault on Uchenna, and in self-defense, Uchenna picked an artifact within her reach and hit Maduka on the head. Immediately, Maduka fell backward and he died. The night was filled with screams and sorrow, and the storm outside mirrored the tumult within their home. The neighbors called the police. They arrived to find a scene of heartbreak and despair. Uchenna was arrested, and her life changed forever. The village was in shock. They gathered to mourn the loss and to process the tragedy that had unfolded. The whispers of the past turned into cries of sorrow and regret. The trial revealed the depths of the abuse and the accusations of infidelity. Uchenna faced the consequences of her actions. The courtroom filled with a mix of anger, sadness, and a longing for justice. Mrs. Okafor, with tears in her eyes, gave a heartfelt testimony, revealing the pain and suffering that had plagued their family. Her words were a plea for understanding and a call for change. The jury delivered the verdict. Mrs. Uchenna Okafor, you have pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. Having thoroughly examined the evidence presented during the trial, the jury has reached a unanimous verdict. It is the judgment of this court that you are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The weight of the sentence echoed through the courtroom, a reminder of the cost of jealousy and violence. Uchenna entered the prison, a place of reflection and regret. The walls closed in, and the memories of lost love haunted her every moment. In the dimly lit prison cell, Uchenna reflected on her actions. The love she once cherished was now a source of pain and sorrow. From the confines of the prison, Uchenna wrote letters of apology to Mrs. Okafor, expressing her regrets and longing for forgiveness. Uchenna's silent cries echoed in the hearts of those who remembered her. Her story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked jealousy and control. Uchenna's friends and family offered support and comfort, their love providing a beacon of hope in the darkest times. Mrs. Okafor accepted Uchenna's apology and visited her in the prison on many occasions, bringing food and cultural items, a reminder of home and the love that still remained despite the tragedy. Uchenna spent hours in the prison library, reading books and seeking knowledge, a way to cope with the isolation and the weight of her actions. Participating in a rehabilitation program, Uchenna worked towards redemption, interacting with others and slowly rebuilding our sense of self. The village also began to heal. They came together, supporting one another and fostering a community that learned from the past and looked forward to a brighter future. Villagers attended meetings and workshops, learning about the importance of addressing domestic violence and supporting those in need. It was a step towards a more understanding and compassionate community. Uchenna, from the confines of our prison cell, shared a message of regret and hope, urging others to learn from our mistakes and to cherish the love they have. New generations in the village grew up with the story of Maduka and Uchenna as a lesson. They were taught to value love, to communicate, and to never let jealousy and anger destroy what is precious. As this story comes to a close, we are reminded that love, while powerful and beautiful, must be nurtured with trust and respect. Let this story be a beacon, guiding us towards a future free from the shadows of violence. Remember, love should heal and not hurt. Thank you for listening. Let me know what you think of this story in the comment section. Please do like and share this video and subscribe to this channel to see more folktales.